Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or somewhere in between. It's me, Mr. Kraus, and this is a little bit of post-rough draft feedback. I'm trying to address some concerns before you guys type up and finalize your 300-point essay. What are we going to talk about? Well, as I went through all of your writing, there were some concerns that tended to address the bulk or the multitude of you guys. As such, you'll see the list, and I'm going to go over it in that order. I vacillated over what to do first, and definitely want to highlight this number 2 conclusion problem. Just about every one of you got some feedback. Where is this? Whatever you did do is not exactly what I was looking for. So let's get started. Please stay tuned that you take notes, right? Record 5 things and be sure to answer the final question. So the first thing I'd like to address, and logically so, I'd like to address the hook or grabber. In this case, I'm just screenshot here or grabbed a handful of students that in one class that needed to work on the hook again. Not many people know the true story of the 3 Little Pigs. That's a great example of no book in the hook. All right, and that's what these different papers, your paper might have this. Again, several of you missed this. Do not mention Alexander T. Wolf. Do not mention the true story of the 3 Little Pigs in your hook. So what does that mean, right? What do you do? Well, think about it this way. What are the general topics related to your essay? So you know how you guys can cluster or spider web or whatever you want to call it. You would end up generating a list, or not a list, but some ideas down on paper. And what are these ideas? Topics related to your writing. So, of course, these are 2 that everyone's going to do. So stay tuned. What are some other options here? Well, it's the other side of the story, guys. It's the other side of the story, right? If there's Martin Luther King Jr., what's the other side of the story? Is it Malcolm X? Is it the deplorable actions of Bull Connor, a sheriff in the South, right? Like, what's the other side of the story? Okay, like that. I think that's incredibly important to hear that out, right? You big brothers and big sisters out there, when you get in arguments, I imagine that most of you are in my predicament, where your side of the story didn't matter. Right, so what a neat idea. My little face is in the way. The last topic that I generated up here is children's literature. What a powerful idea to talk about the magnitude, the ability of a story to craft the next generation, right? Like, that can't be understated. I don't know how, and in this case, right, the founding Western ideals that everyone will have their day in court, hopefully, right? That everyone's story will get heard and given equal weight, right? Okay, I'll stop. So just to review real quickly, don't mention the book and the hook. Here are some topics. And when you pick one of these topics, you can ask a question. You can make a bold statement. You can look up a famous person saying something about the value of children's literature. You can look up a definition of Merriam-Webster Dictionary or Oxford English Dictionary. But don't mention the true story of the 3 Little Pigs or Alexander T. Wolf. I'm going to put this up here. I don't understand. You guys, I'm super concerned. If you specifically wrote Dear Old Granny or Granny, I'm fine with that. But that is not your language. And in addition to that, I'm proposing it's a problem. What's wrong with devolving language? Well, think about that for a second. How do you express your feelings, your thoughts, your opinions, your hopes, your wishes, your dreams? You do it with words. And so if you can't share what makes you, what is somehow part of your spirit or your soul, if you can't share that with someone, that vacuum, that empty space of existence is not a world I want to live in. I'm super excited to get to know you guys. I'm super excited, as is Miss Edmonds, to read your work. But imagine a world where we looked at each other and did not talk. Well, what would happen then? We'd probably fight. So we should have a standard of communication. We should be able to share ideas. We should. Come on. Do the right thing. And I'm all fired up, right? I've had a lot of coffee. I even had a smoothie this morning. God bless you guys. That's just a bell. I'm going to keep going. Verb tense. This is a fictional tale. Thus, it will be treated in present tense. That's simply the standard. Here's some student work. By the way, if this is your work, feel free to make note of this. Let's see if I can grab a pen or a pencil here. You guys, it's not since he didn't. It's since he does. Forgive my slow writing here. While I'm on the path of writing, why not say does not? Again, the argument of expressing yourself thoughtfully and clearly is not easy. What about expressing yourself thoughtfully and clearly in a formal way? In a way that sort of suggests there is some pomp and circumstance to your ideas, that it should be taken with some sort of gravity, some sort of level of seriousness, right? So first and most important is the underlying idea of verb tense, and that is the narrator wields his ethical appeal successfully. Thank you for having positive appeal and who's doing it. Since he doesn't want or does not want to trespass on a neighbor's property. It's a very nice topic sentence. It just needs verb tense, okay? So again, with this paper, you need to be writing in present tense. Another idea that developed or evolved as we went along in class is linking your ideas. I tried to help you guys, right? So this paper has an ethos, body paragraph 1, and a pathos. Some people are unaware that I'm making a video. And here it is. So here's the transition sentence. Again, we're going from ethos to pathos. You successfully, by the way. In addition to this argument, the ethos one, he's going to move on, right? In addition to this argument, Alex attempts to move the reader's emotions. Or, right, and that's again, why did I say move the reader's emotions? Because that's pathos. So in a slightly different way, in an effort to continue to plead his case, Alex hopes the readers will feel, and then let's just say you're arguing feel bad, right? Or feel sad in your next paragraph. In an effort to continue to plead his case, Alex makes another argument hoping to make the readers feel bad. Okay, and so what is that? Just a quick hint of what's to come next. I expect to see transition sentences from the first to the second and from the second paragraph to the third. So that's 2 transition sentences. One here, right at the bottom of the first paragraph, and then another one at the bottom of the second paragraph. Just 2. 2 transition sentences. Have you been keeping up? Have you been writing notes? Hopefully you have 3 or 4 items written down. I would like to definitely talk about conclusions. I wished I could have talked about this number 1. What happened? You guys took notes. You need to summarize your argument. Number 2, by definition, is where one summarizes or highlights the main points of your essay, your argument. So what does that mean, Mr. Kraus? Well, you guys, your conclusion should be bigger than 99% of them. Please write, if you want an idea of what to do, summarizing your arguments, which would be your 3 CQTs, then write a sentence for each CQT given. Okay, there are a couple groups out there in the wings where I'm expecting more or less CQTs. So that description there, that device for you to be successful in your conclusions should be applicable. Again, a sentence for each CQT is the second thing you do in your conclusion. The first thing you do is restate as simply as possible your thesis. And the third and final thing you do is give a wrap-up. And with that wrap-up, guys, just a quick side note. I don't think I put it in the video. Can you please not argue whether the wolf is innocent or not? It's a children's story. It is a children's story. There are much bigger topics on display in your writing. There are much bigger ideas displayed here in your ability to communicate your own thoughts and ideas as you analyze an argument. Please don't tell me he's innocent or not. Please don't leave it as a question that he's innocent or not. Really don't care. All right, let's wrap this thing up. I believe this is the last item on the list. I think we're doing great with the time. Thesis and body paragraphs order. Well, taking a look at a certain student's writing, wink, wink, nod, nod. Thank you, people from La Cañada. This paragraph starts with ethos, or the ethical appeal. This person's next paragraph is pathos, also known as the emotional appeal, as correctly labeled or identified here. The final paragraph for this young student is logos, in case you can't see it, the logical appeal. This student moves from happy ethos to happy pathos, success, right, guys? And finally switches to a failing logos. Okay, so what's the pattern for your thesis? Real quickly, just a reminder, it's Alex, Mr. Wolf, the narrator, somebody wisely said in my 4th period class, I believe it was. The narrator, and then list the appeals, guys. Be specific. Don't just say the 3 appeals in your introduction thesis. Instead, what you should say is something like this. He endeavors to plead his case with the effect, I need a typo in there, with the effective use, even Mr. Kraus makes mistakes. Let me put that in there. It's driving me crazy. Wow, I'm the slowest writer ever. He endeavors to plead his case with the effective use of. Now, obviously, ethos should be first, right? And then pathos and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what this student did, right? But some of you guys missed that idea. And again, think about what you're doing. You're trying to convey your thoughts in such a way that I can understand the spirit of what you're saying. I can understand you. Your job, then, is to lead me through your thoughts logically. And you can do that, but you need to maintain the order and you need to make sense, right? And so topic sentences do that, right? With first of all, secondly, and whatever, finally, lastly. And that order should be reflected in the thesis, right? And then this person, if you didn't know, used a fancy but and said logo sucks. I mean, they obviously didn't say sucks in their essay. They said something academic, right? All right, so I'm going to exit the drawing. But again, the framework or equation for the thesis, you math people out there, is going to be that the character plus the appeals. Again, you can't just say 3 appeals. You need to say ethos, pathos, and logos, or ethical, emotional, and logical appeals. You need to make sure you tell me if it's successful or not. A couple of you need to add that to your theses and topic sentences as well. And I would encourage you to have some sort of phrasing about arguing for his innocence, right? Pleading his case, trying to restore his name, trying to restore his reputation, trying to salvage his reputation, trying to salvage his name. I'm going to exit the drawing, guys. This video will be posted before the end of class. So if there's any part of this you want to rewatch, feel free to. You can always slow me down or speed me up as you work through this. So what have you been waiting for? Well, hopefully you got your 5 notes down, and it's time for the final question. What will you work on in your essay? So please, I'm not asking you to write down the question as usual, but I am asking that your response be a complete sentence or so. Some of you, it can be an honest, maybe you didn't water the tree or whatever that is, get out in the garden and do some work when no one was looking. Some of you just need to finish the essay. While still others might want to work on the hook, might want to work on that number 2 in the conclusion. And you definitely, guys, want to make sure you're accurate with your dear old granny, quote unquote, your granny, quote unquote. Otherwise, it should be grandmother of the narrator, right? All right, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I squeezed it in just under the allotted time for a free video. Thank you, Screencast-O-Matic. I'll see you guys on Friday.